Hello guys, this is Ankit Kumar Singh, Vice Chairperson, SAE, Presidency University. Uh, in the previous video I said if you're watching this on IGTV then just skip for next 20 seconds, but I would like to take this moment before this and just tell you about that. Most of the people I have come across with, like in the field which I am right now doing work for SAE and others, most of the field which I have come across in, like people which I have come across with, they are quite different from what the people or regular classmates or regular engineers are. Yes, these are the peoples. Whenever I ask them like, why do you do these kinds of stuff, their always answer stays like something motivated them. They wanted to do something different. They wanted to change something, and that is the reason why we are different from the others or different from the general public. In this case, that is why I would like to say motivated people are those who motivate themselves enough and do something to change the world. And as Steve Jobs once said, the people who think they can change the world are foolish enough to actually do it. So by those words, I would like to invite one more person who is just motivated like me, and he is our guest today. His name is Mirza Fasiullah Beg. I'm actually waiting for him right now. Let us see if he's online. I'm waiting for getting a connection with Captain Miss Fortune, that is Mirza Fasiullah Beg. Hi, Fasi.
Hi Ankit, how are you?
I'm fine. So I welcome you to our essay episode 3 of Tech Talk, in which we'll be talking about technical stuff and enlightening other fellow peers and also many more.
Thank you, I feel welcomed.
So, Fasi, before you came in, I was just speaking about motivated people, why we do these kinds of project, what inspires us, what is the technical learning and everything. So, this is the question which I have been asking to everyone, and I'll also like to ask you the same. Uh, like, what made you do these kinds of project? Like, what was the reason for your motivation?
It is an unusual story. So the thing is, I had no idea these things existed.
Okay.
You remember when we were in HOD's class, we didn't just talk about engineering graphics, we talked about engineering in general, right?
Yeah.
So we came up with a lot of ideas uh, a lot of unusual ideas which will never work in the real world. And one day, you, me, and a couple of other friends, we went and spoke to HOD. Can we do this? Is this possible? And all those things. And he was like, if you want to indulge in these kind of things, you need to get acquainted with what is going on in the industry. And competitions are a good place to start. And he told us to look for competitions, and then it just went from there. You came up with a few options, and we picked the one closest in date from that day, and we just went with it. We didn't think about what we might come across. We didn't think about how difficult it might be. We were just like, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, because the ideas which we had when we were discussing, it were very unusual. You said most of them won't be practically acceptable, but my thoughts differ in that case. But still, we had these unusual ideas, and we had to get
We have
practical knowledge.
different opinions about reality,
Yeah,
obviously.
that every person has his own opinion. We can't do anything about it.
Right.
Anyway, coming back to it, we wanted to do something practically, right? Or something other than what we learned from textbook, or do something by our own hands, like hands-on experience and everything. And that is the reason why we did this project. Is it? So, is there anything specific which you learned from this project other than what you could have learned from this book, or as you just said that you had no idea these things existed? So, was this useful? Like, these are a
Of
set
course
of
it was.
questions
There's a
together I would
thousand
like you
things
to.
that I learned. There's a thousand things that I learned, and a thousand more things that I realized I cannot hope to learn. So it was a very uh, uh, it was a learning journey. We learnt a lot, and we learnt that we cannot learn a lot.
Oh,
Yeah. So you know
again,
what
my
I'm saying,
thoughts differ,
obviously.
obviously. But still, okay, so you got to. So, can you tell anything specifically what you got to learn?
Could you repeat that, please? Your voice is breaking up.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Like, you said you got to learn a lot, and you got to learn that you cannot learn a lot. Okay, but taking on the positive aspect of it, can you just be specific about the things that you got to learn, like a little bit details about it?
Uh, we learned, first of all, we learned skills, right? So how do we design things and all those things? So that was the preliminary stuff. Like we had to calculate things and see where our limitations are and work within those boundaries.
Yeah.
So we learnt about our limitations first, and then we learnt a lot of skills. Like we had to do our own welding, we had to do our own cutting, we had to design our own chassis and all those things. So we learnt how to use the software to design. We learnt how to handle power tools. We learnt how power transmission works, and how it is mysterious how it does not work when it's supposed to. Right, so you don't know what the problem is, but there is a problem, and you have no idea how to solve it. So these are you get an idea of how you cannot always do things as they are on paper. You have to improvise. You have to adapt to the situation.
Yeah, this is one sure thing which we learned about. If you think about my case, then including these, I also got to learn something from the event, that is the technical inspection and how
Right, yeah, there
industry
was a
works.
lot of, you had to learn, we learnt a lot about diplomacy. We
Yeah,
learnt how much of a pain paperwork can be. We learnt how difficult it is to, talk to people in general. At some points you decide that you don't want to talk to them, but you have no other choice.
yeah. Diplomacy is one bigger aspect which we got to go through, and not only once, we got to do that twice. And both of the times,
Yeah,
rules of the games were changed.
right.
Yeah, but adding on to that, like, it was also helpful to us. And not only that, if we wouldn't have done this, then first of all, we wouldn't have got to know there are different kinds of welding available. Like, we got to founding and forging lab in third year, foundry and forging lab. But
Yeah, we
before
learnt
that
about
itself,
the
we
things
got
we
to know.
already did a year later.
Yeah, like we already
And
did.
we were already, that really helped with our marks, by the way.
Yeah. Because
We
doing
already
such
had
kind of
hands-on
project,
experience.
as first year student, he only knows about what an arc welding is, the normal electric arc welding, but the other
Right,
sections of it,
right.
like tungsten inert gas, MIG welding, everything we got to learn about those. Not only that, seeing them seamless pipes, that was a big headache for us.
Oh yeah, we made a blunder there.
Uh, like a
We didn't
difference
know the
between
difference
seamed and
between the two,
seamless pipe. That
unfortunately.
also helped us with production engineering aspect of this
Right,
mechanical
right.
engineering part.
Yes, yes.
Anything specific about that, like AISI 1020, AISI 4310? These were the things. They have different serial numbers. They have different chemical composition and everything. Wouldn't have got to
Yeah.
learn this in like our academic
Yeah, back
process.
then we didn't know there was an entire catalog of materials to choose from.
Yeah,
So
and I have
in our first try, we just went it with the whatever Google told us.
yeah,
So
and that was the blunder
a
which we made
classic.
over there.
Yes.
So you should never, when this kinds of technical events or doing anything technically, you should never go head first with what Google tells you to do.
Yeah, I think we had too much confidence to begin with.
Yes. Overconfidence, we can say.
No, I
Uh,
wouldn't say overconfidence, because the first thing we learned was our limitations. So that got nipped in the bud right there.
yeah. And now, after all these things, we have an idea how to do it. Like, we, as you said, catalog of materials, and not only that, we haven't explored a lot about it. We are still on the exploring sector. Okay,
Right.
we are working towards it right now, and that's how it is. We didn't get to calculate a lot many stuff in our projects, right? But there are other projects which we can
In the
talk about.
beginning, we didn't, yes. In the
Yeah,
beginning, we just YouTubed some stuff, and the rest of it came from Google. We didn't consult anybody in the field, and we were pretty confident when we got there, and then we got shown what we are.
okay, so there is a question from the comment section. How did you find out what the equipments are to be used? And there is SAR. I don't know what that does mean. What is SAR? Can you please elaborate? And also, after our
That is
talk
for
is done,
dialect.
we'll have a Q&A session. So you can feel happy to post it once again, and we'll be very happy to answer it.
Yeah, answering the question, how did you find out what equipment to be used? We went to places where we bought stuff from, where we rented tools and equipments from, and we realized that this will do what we needed to do, and we used them. That is how it was. We just went with what was happening. I hope that answers your question.
And also adding on to it, I would like to say, uh, just a second. Adding on to it, if you are asking how did we realize what kind of tools which we need to use or equipments which we need to use, basically when you like repair your bike or just ride your bike and have a basic idea about it, like how things function, which equipments has what role to play, then you can have a small portion of idea and you can outline what actually needs to be done, and you can build up according to that from the experts which we uh, got to do. Like we went to the experts and rented out materials and we learned from them. Before that we had basic idea like how a motor would work, how an electric go-kart would work. We
Right.
even had driven go-karts before in karting arenas, and also we knew how to do it.
And of course, we had YouTube, so we saw what was being used.
Yeah. But before all this, before we did this project, before we went to our respectable HOD sir, Dr. Uday Ravi sir, uh, we had little bit idea about it. Like we had calculations of our own, although we didn't get to use it in this, like air resistance calculation, how much power we are gonna give.
Yeah, that we wasted time there, honestly.
As we did.
I mean, how
But
much air resistance can you get at 2 horsepower?
not much. But the plan which we started with was totally different, right? We are gonna build an actual car.
That that was that was that was very, you know what do you say? I need to Google that word.
You're falling short of words to express your feelings about that.
Yeah, I should have a dictionary on hand. Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay. That was the thing which we did. Like once again, coming back to people who are motivated. Regarding this tech talk, we are doing it right now online, but we used to do it on class. Like, okay, we have to build a vehicle. So what are the things which we need? Vehicle needs a chassis, frame, then something which needs to drive it, the power source, then transmission system, then steering system, braking system, then its whole body, air resistance, and we were calculating a bit on that. Uh, we got to know a lot of stuff in this case where when you have higher speeds, then the density of air changes at higher speeds, and that is the reason why you'll have to have more power just to gain a little bit more speed. Like for that,
Like you're
I'll give you
going
an
through more
example.
air in shorter time, so it's
Yeah,
there's a difference.
there is a difference. For example, Koenigsegg Agera, it has to put on 200 horsepower more just to achieve 10 and added 10 mile per hour speed, just because of the
Right.
air resistance at which it was operating.
Yeah, so you can imagine we were talking about Koenigsegg Agera, so obviously we were overly ambitious with our ideas.
But at least we were working on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we are a part of a society of automotive engineers, that is SAE right now, and most of the time
I think
people
we should have
think like,
started with that.
yeah, we started with that. And we are working on electrical projects. All the projects which we have worked on till now are based on renewable sources of energy.
Right.
So most of the people they try to compare like mechanical engine or internal combustible engine better, or electrical powered vehicle, that is motor vehicle, is that better? So you have anything?
Your voice broke off. Could you repeat the last sentence?
I'll repeat it once again. Like we did a lot of electrical projects by now. Okay, so in our group as well and in industrial sector as well, there's a talk going on whether internal combustible engines are done and is electrical is the future. We all know that electrical is the future, but do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, the electrical is the future. It is not the near future. Like at least not for another half a century. Because we do not have the technology it takes to store the amount of energy it takes to drive a car for the kind of road, the kind of driving conditions that cars go through today. We don't have the enough range because again energy density problem, and we don't have we, the charging time is too much. So it is not convenient to stop because of which uh, a lot of charging stations across large geographical areas have been put up so that people can charge frequently and have to wait a less amount of time to charge their vehicles while they drive
Firstly,
long distances.
can you just repeat what you just said, because I lost the connection over here.
Right. So the market is changing for electric vehicles, right? So as it is changing, they have also come up with considerations for charging times, and that is why a lot of uh, you know a lot of companies are investing in setting up charging stations across a large geographical area so that people can stop more frequently and less longer than they have to, so that they can charge more frequently and be on their way. They don't have to spend as much time, but that is still inconvenient for a lot of people when you're on a short leash with time. So it is not a practical solution as yet. So we have a long way to go, and IC engines are here to stay for quite a while.
Yeah, because for electrical to come up into the picture, we'll have to change the whole infrastructure as well. And this charging stations being one of the part of that infrastructure. But by bringing electrical into the picture, the main motive was to reduce pollution. So
Right.
coming back to the infrastructure point once again, yeah, we know that all those charging stations are working here, but all those charging stations are powered by the power plants which run on fossil fuels again.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole infrastructure needs to be changed in this case. Do you have anything to say about that as well?
Yeah, the thing is, infrastructure isn't that big a problem because uh, there is money in the world to take care of that. But the whole suggestion that this is to control pollution and stop or slow down global warming is to basically guilt the consumer to buy this product, because that is not how pollution is affecting us. It is not at an individual level. It is due to it is at an industrial scale. So you using a plastic bag or a cloth bag is not going to make that much of a difference. Like we saw how recently people switched over from plastic straws to metal straws. That didn't do anything. Pollution is still as it was before. That is basically large corporations preying on guilt tripping the consumer at an individual level, so that he will buy new products from them. So they are basically fueling the market with new products and want people to buy them. So they've devised this rhetoric of you are the reason this is happening, instead of owning it, because it is honestly their fault. They're lobbying. They've thrown enough money into the problem. So world governments are turning a blind eye to the actual problem.
I'll just
So
like
this
to
whole
add
rhetoric
on,
of
like there
yeah,
is a
please.
difference of opinion here.
Mm-hmm.
On the point that you said, if I am using a plastic bag, then it might not make much of a difference if I change. Basically, on
It
industrial
make a
level,
difference in your locality.
yeah,
It will not make a difference at a global level.
yeah. So I'll add in, saying according to that, on industrial level or global level, if you see, then a large amount of change needs to be made. But on my personal level, as you said, it will make change in my locality. If there are five, six localities like this, then maybe it might make a change in our city, then our nation. Because there is a saying like एक के करने से क्या फर्क पड़ता है, but एक एक के करने से बहुत ज्यादा फर्क पड़ता है, और इसमें सिर्फ एक का फर्क है.
Right,
That's not my saying,
you are
actually.
right
It is,
there.
yeah,
See, you make sense,
yeah.
right? You make sense, but you are missing the bigger picture here. The the pollution that you as a person cause does not have that much of an impact at a global scale. At a global scale, the pollution is caused by large industries and
Industries.
corporations that in the manufacturing sector, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what
So,
you're talking about. I was just adding
and
on to
that
what.
problem is not being addressed at all because those industries have enough money to buy garments. I mean, to lobby. We should be
That is
respectful.
totally a different case over here, and we are over here to talk about
Yeah,
technical,
this is
not
exactly
political
this is
or different
yeah.
topics. So adding on to the technical part of this,
Mm-hmm.
first point which we gave was infrastructure. That was the whole point. The infrastructure and the companies which are investing in it.
Personally, I don't think that is that big of a deal. The infrastructure.
Once again, that depends from person to person. But I would like you to tell. There is a saying about. This is what actually you came up with. This is your saying actually, that cars are more than just product. It is a sentiment. It is a lifestyle. It was your saying, and based on that
Right, I
saying, there
did
are
say
a lot
that
of
once.
car cultures available around here, which are totally dependent upon IC engines.
Right.
Yeah, and the electrical engine part, that would be like, it will take a lot many time. As you said, it will stay at least for half a decade or something, but according to the data given by the different organizations, the IC engine cars are going to stay for at least 2 decades, is what I would say. So in that case, to protect this car cultures and everything, and while having sustainable development, going with sustainable development, is there anything else which we can come up with? There are a lot of things which we can do, like making biodiesel, biofuels, and everything. So we can
Right.
still be using internal combustible engines while developing electrical sector in between and saving the
Mm-hmm.
world.
First of all, I feel really special that you wrote down what I said. That is very unusual. And coming to the actual issue here, the car cultures, right? So we already have uh, embedded systems in automotives. So you have four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive cars, which you can switch over from front-wheel drive to back-wheel drive, and you're basically talking about how your car behaves. You can optimize, you can select the modes you want it to operate in, and that will take care of that. And obviously, if it is an electric vehicle, then you can do the same thing with it, because a lot of electric cars are not commercially available ones, like supercars and sports cars and those kind of things. They have individual motors for individual wheels, right? So obviously you will have enough. There's enough investment in the software there so that uh, you can cater to these car culture needs. But again, coming back to what I said before, switching over from your current car to there was a study like 3 4 years ago, I think I read it, where if you sell your old car and buy a new electric car, then you have basically essentially contributed to global warming, because there was a lot of energy and a lot of pollution done in production of this electric car as well as the petrol car. So by simply staying with your old car, you could have done more for the environment than what you did for the environment by switching. So again, that comes to guilting the consumer into buying more products. That is basically fueling their wallets. It is not helping the global climate.
So we have discussed about technical and global climate as well. But coming
We
back
have
to this,
discussed more about global climate than we have
than
discussed about
technical stuff.
technical. And I think that is a good thing, because obviously everybody is not going to be from mechanical engineering listening to us.
Yeah. Depending upon that,
And these
coming
are the
as you
considerations that most people overlook when they are talking about technical difficulties that you have to go through in production or in manufacturing, basically any industry. These are the things that are overlooked in favor of, getting fatter paychecks.
so coming back to the mechanical part of it,
Please.
and again I'd be repeating a question. I guess you said you got to learn a lot of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
transmission system and everything were one of those. And as I know, you were mechanical team coordinator of Team Kryptonians.
Right.
So, is there anything which you would like to say about that, like calculation of the transmission system, how it was new to you, how did you get to learn, or anything which you would tell our upcoming batches who are going to participate in such kind of project?
At first, it was overwhelming because, like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. But given the fact that we were operating with a motor which was completely electrically controlled, there was a controller, so you could even control the speed. So we didn't really need a complex transmission system there. whatever if for the speed difference, we had a controller which could take care of it. So all we had to do was figure out what size sprocket we had to put on it. So that was not a big deal after we started to work on it. Before that, we were overwhelmed because we had no idea what was in store. Right. So once you get your hands into it, it gets easy. It comes naturally. It becomes very organic, and you get comfortable with it.
So first you don't know anything about it, then you start doing it, then you actually get comfortable with it, and
Yeah,
it
it is
becomes
the
easy for you.
intimidation of newness, essentially.
Okay. So these were about the technical parts, and leaving the technical part, you are a part of a team for 2 years continuously. Okay. And as we all know, being a part of the team has its own perks. You get to learn a lot of stuff. You get to go through a lot many problems. You fight with each other. You grind to do certain works.
Right.
Yeah. So team building aspect of this, like you had a kind of leadership position in your case. So anything which you like to add on to that?
In the moment, you don't really see the good stuff. When you're in there, when you're doing your work, you don't see all the good stuff. You don't see how everybody else is doing. You don't see how much work they have put into it. All you are very result oriented at that point because there is a time constraint. So you want things done within a given time. So you are very, angry all the time. So, but looking back on all the work we did and all the time we spent together getting to what we were doing, it is all the difficult stuff that used to bother me, that used to get me angry. All those things I cannot really recall unless I really think about it. So it is, once the time has gone, you forget all the bad stuff, right?
And you remember all the good stuff.
Oh, I
Can
remember
you
the
just
bad stuff as well. I just have to pay more attention to recall it.
then please do that. Just recall some good stuff which you can just say
I'll
right
talk
now.
about the bad stuff.
But there has to be something, no?
I really think that reminiscing on our own, the two of us, is not going to make for a good interview.
Yeah, that would be another case.
Because you and I will remember that stuff, and we have history, so that is good for us. But the people listening don't give, don't care.
Yeah. But some people actually do. I have got laughing emoji from the comment section right now. Those are the people who care.
And those are the people who also remember, so there's no point in reiterating.
Anyways, this was our event. This was our Tech Talk, episode 3 till now. Any people who are watching us from the comment section, if you have any questions, you can just post it right now. Otherwise, Fasi, if you have any questions for me, you can just right away ask to me. Because in this whole interview, I have been asking the question to you only, and you didn't get to do it.
And I like that dynamic.
Where you
I
are.
was only answering and not asking questions.
Oh. So
It makes me look wise.
Oh. That is a peculiar kind of trait to be found in any person. Like, not every person has that.
I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment.
Depends on you. So, nobody has any questions from the comment section?
Oh, thank God.
This might be good for you actually. You don't get to answer anything else. Otherwise, it might be also bad for you. You don't get to look wiser. You have been portrayed as a wise man over here, but answering these questions would have made you even wiser.
Or could have shown how stupid I am.
Maybe.
It can go both ways.
So we are waiting from the questions from comment section. How do you do it, sir? Okay,
The ambiguity is threatening in that question.
Yeah, such amazing work. Again, what kind of amazing work are you talking about, sir? Shakti, sir, I'm not able to pronounce the second name. Shakti.
Such amazing work. I feel really good about it.
Okay, there is this question from the book thief, Emily Joseph. during TI you were asked numerous mechanical concepts where you thought all of that in our course. Regarding that, Fasi went in the first, that is NEKC season 2 TI with me. This time, unfortunately, he wasn't there for the TI event, and maybe that question would have been more directional towards me. If you want to answer that, Fasi, then maybe you can answer that, and I will add up onto it.
Yeah, sure. So, numerous mechanical concepts, right? Yeah, we were asked a lot of things which more than half of those we had not even touched in our classes. We had learnt those over the course of building our project, right? So later we were familiarized with those concepts or maybe brushed through them in later semesters, because back then we were just in second year, so it is still preliminary engineering, you can say. So it was not much that was learnt in classroom. More of it we learnt through doing it ourselves.
Adding on to it, in TI, like as Fasi just said, it was not learned much in classroom. It was just that we learned something before and we got to learn it again in classes, like types of welding. I just give an example, types of welding. Other than that, in TI, we were also made to revise what we had learned this time, and we were confused. Like the judges over there in the TI, they are smart. If you're not confident enough, confidence becomes a key part over here. If you're not confident enough, then even though if your answer is correct, they will confuse you and they'll get a wrong answer from you.
Yeah, the follow-up questions will.
Other than that, TI was actually very helpful. Like we made the vehicle, we know what it will do, how to make it, or anything else, and we just had the calculation part and everything. But we didn't put our minds in that much designing aspects or anything, or what an engineer would do. Like there are three types of people: mechanic, diploma guy, and engineers. So in TI, most of the questions were asked as an engineer's aspect. Like we are an engineer, and that was a industry guy, and he was asking us a lot many questions. Although we couldn't answer all of them, but we got to learn a lot many stuff like how to triangulate a vehicle, certain kinds of beams or certain additions in the chassis are not very important if the directional force or the force which is going through it becomes zero. Uh, Chassis can be made even lighter. We actually went with a heavy chassis to give more factor of safety to this case, and we got to learn that it could have been even lighter considering the factor of safety wouldn't be compromised. There are different things which we can learn, like there are analysis methods in which once you take the driver as a part of the chassis, or in other terms where driver is not the part of the chassis and you take care of his comfort. So in our case, I would say we went with 60-40, where 40% was for driver's comfort and 60% was for the vehicle, where we consider driver as the part of the chassis during impact analysis and everything. And these are all the things which we got to learn. Another question which has come up in comment section is how do you decide the dimension of the go-kart and balance the loads on the chassis?
I have reason to believe this question is directed at me. The thing is, it was pretty straightforward. We had a rule book, we read it, and we found our boundaries. So all we knew was we had to work within those boundaries. Now, after that, we found out that you cannot simply make a go-kart that is the size of toy car. So obviously you can't fit a driver on it. So there was an inside limit as well. So from that we gave ourselves a buffer, and from the extreme, the maximum extremes, we gave ourselves some buffer and worked within that size. So it was basically rule book. We didn't really put that much thought into it.
It was basically rule book which told us what to do and what not to do, and we had to work within the given foundations, and as we said, internal limits like the size of the driver, the area, the span which they are going to cover,
how big our battery is going to be, what
how big our
battery,
size of the components,
how much room
and
the
everything.
steering is going to take. What size
Also, the
the
second part of the
brake is going
question
to
was how did we decide where to put which component depending upon the load? So, answering that question, we had only two factors in our mind: center of mass and center of gravity, which we are going to take care of, and it had to be optimum for the best performance of the vehicle. We did by trial and error and calculative methods, but I would suggest we can do it by analysis methods also. We have been thought that is in ANSYS. It will actually make the work easy
we
for us.
also had a mock-up of the chassis made out of PVC pipe.
How necessary was it to calculate the Ackermann angle? I guess once again this question is directed towards you, Wasi.
So obviously, Ackermann angle was extremely necessary. This is a very unusual question. There is not much detail you can get into it there.
Uh,
Obviously, Ackermann angle is necessary. How
but
necessary? Very necessary.
how necessary was it to calculate? Okay, I'll just give you an idea. The vehicle has some sort of like thickness. So when you are turning, the turning radius of the vehicle, which is if you're turning on the left hand side, then the turning radius of the left wheel would be smaller compared to the turning radius of the right hand side wheel. So in that case, if you don't give proper Ackermann angle, then the distance traveled by the both would be equal, and it might result in skidding, not proper steering system. Vehicle won't be able to unstable vehicle, as you know, and that would be a failure in design failure mode analysis. So Ackermann angle was very necessary, I would say, and efficient calculation must be done for it. If
How
you
did
want to
it
know,
benefit you? Yeah, it it benefited us because we didn't crash there, thankfully.
yeah, vehicle steered properly. There was
Yeah,
no
it
failure
went
in
where it
steering
was supposed to
mechanism.
go.
Yeah. So it benefited us a lot. And if you want to know about the formulas, then you can DM us on both our page, that is Captain Misfortune or Ankit K Singh 5 or Presidency
Or
University
better
SAE.
yet, you can Google it yourself.
Or
That
better
would be
yet,
great for us.
will also support us. You can join SAE and become a part of such kinds of project. Then you will get to learn not only about steering system but all vehicle components as a whole. Bro, at that speed, I don't think it would have crashed anyway. Please be our
We
guest.
witnessed one go-kart crash there. So there is evidence to the contrary.
There is a yeah, and don't you think that go-kart travels only at the speed of 30 kilometer per hour, 20 kilometer per hour? Our vehicle clocked the top speed of 50 kilometer per hour, and there were vehicles in the competition which could go 70 kilometer per hour if you just leave them on an open track. So 70 kilometer per
And
hour.
conventionally, in competitions, they go over 100 kilometers per hour as well.
Yeah.
So
In professional competitions, they go over 100 kilometer per hour. So even at
yeah, it is a very
small
wide
speed,
spectrum.
yeah, crash could be catastrophic. Just to give in a perspective, if you are a person of 90 kgs traveling at the 30 kilometer per hour, if you convert it into actual formula, then the impact which you go through at that point of time would be somewhere around 1000 Newton, even at the speed of 30 kilometer per hour. So just take a force of 1000 newtons on your chest and you'll know what to do, or whether it would be catastrophic or not.
I don't recommend it though because the hospitals are full of COVID patients and you
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
catch
yeah.
that.
That was just a thought.
So if he does it, then it's not on us.
Yeah,
That is all I'm
we'll
saying.
just disclaimer
Yeah.
that whatever you do totally depends on you. We aren't advising you to do it. Anyways, are there any other questions, or shall we just comments or conclude this? Not comments, actually conclude this session. Okay, there is another question from our guest. It is a common practice to use salvage parts from passenger cars and use them in carts. So why was the calculation for steering system necessary? Okay, answering on to that. Would you like to answer that, Fasi?
Yeah, the thing is, we didn't actually, the dimensions we were working with, that was our first thought. We tried to go look for crashed passenger cars and see what we can salvage from those because obviously those are cheap and we were on a budget. And we realized that this is not going to fit. And we tried that and failed miserably and
Yeah,
then
we tried
decided
it
to
with an
think like
Omni
engineers.
steering.
Yeah, and then we decided to think like engineers instead of mechanics.
Yeah.
No
See,
shade at mechanics, by the way. I respect you guys.
See, the thing is, each and every kind of car are different. Go-karts come in a different variant of automobile. Commercial cars or passenger cars or family cars are different, and they also have even subsectors in it. Considering about the mistake which we made, that was once again in the steering part. Okay, we bought an Omni steering system to fit it in the go-kart. First of all, dimensions were not accurate. Secondly, Omni steering system or a conventional commercial car steering system, you will have to just rotate
It's
it
not
two,
an
three times.
Ackerman.
Yeah, two, three times to achieve a degree of turn on tires. But with the case of go-kart, you'll have to rotate suddenly because when you are taking a sudden turns, you cannot just keep on rotating like this. You'll have
You
to,
want the steering to be extremely sensitive.
yeah,
So you
steering,
want it to react when you want it to react it.
yeah, it should react on time.
And I
So
regret washing that steering column.
I was there too, but I was just laughing around, so I can't say anything.
I have words for you which I cannot say because there's people listening.
Uh, just keep it back to yourself.
No, I'll do that later.
So any other
I'll
questions
call
which you
you up
guys?
and give you all those words. Yes, i.e. 1:1 ratio. Thank you. Who are you that is so wise in the ways of science?
Is that a question? I can't see that question here.
No, he's telling us about the sensitivity of steering, so it has to be 1:1 ratio. So
Okay.
for 1 degree of movement at the steering wheel, you get 1 degree at the tire.
So, if we are not getting any questions from the comment section right now, so just moving on to the closing of this event. We are the people, both of us are from the Society of Automotive oh my god, Society of Automotive Engineers. I can't
should
make
have
mistakes
rehearsed.
like this.
You should have
Society
rehearsed.
of Automotive Engineers. So just if you want to work in such projects like this and just enlighten yourself towards knowing more than what book has to teach you, both practically and think as an engineer, then you can always join us. And if you have any doubts, then you can always come to us, both on our Presidency SAE page and on our personal pages as well. And there are actually teams which are currently working right now on such kinds of projects, one of them being Team Vector. So you can join SAE, become a member, take parts in such kinds of projects, join teams and learn more about it. That is all what I have to say.
And I have nothing more to add.
Okay then. Thank you.
That was
Jeevan
crisp
says hello. And yeah, thank you for this session. Thank you for joining Fasi in this session. You
Thank
have
you for
been
having me.
quite a guest. Peculiar guest, I would say, different from
I
others.
still don't know if you're insulting or complimenting me. We should clear that
I'll
up.
say you are a guest who are different from others. You had a different perspective, had different point of view. You can take that as an insult or as a compliment. That depends on you.
And I don't want to clear that up later either because if you're writing things down I'm saying, then I'm a little creeped out.
Uh, I write down
Yeah,
things which
I am
think.
throwing shade at you.
Oh, I write down things which I think are worthy enough to be written down by me. So if you think that you
Yeah, I
should be
keep
actually
dropping wisdom
complimented by
nuggets
that.
all the time, so
Anyways, we'll close the session. Thank you for Fasi for joining us, and this ends.
oh, thank you to Shakti as well.
Yeah, thank you to Shakti as well. Bye.
Bye.